Hi guys, I'm here with Lincoln Murphy, the Papa do Customer Success Pope, here with us. This is the third time here, Lincoln's here at RD Summit. And Lincoln, first of all, thanks again for being here. And how do you see this movement of customer success, a dedicated customer success track in a marketing and sales event?
I love it. I love the fact that you're bringing something that normally isn't a part of marketing and sales events, but absolutely should be. You're bringing it here, and not just having a couple of things, but you have that dedicated track. I think it's amazing. It shows that you guys actually, you believe this so much that you want to bring it to your customers, to your audience. That's amazing. To me, that's the ultimate in advocacy, right? You're not just doing it, you're spreading the good word about it. That's amazing. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and that's not about believing it or not. That's what happened, right? Because you can't create a growth machine without customer success.
Right.
Marketing and sales can't work for a long time without proper customer experience, without delivering success to the customers you were bringing in. And you've seen this many times, right? Probably you've worked with companies that were doing a good job with marketing and sales, but not with customer success. And what happened then?
Well, I mean, the way that a lot of people talk about it is the leaky bucket, right? If you keep putting water into a bucket with holes in it, they fall out, or the water falls out. But the thing is, with customers, they're not water. They don't just flow into the earth and everything's good. They go out and they tell their friends how bad of an experience they had. Working with customers who are not being successful, who are leaving, that hurts morale internally. Like it's the opposite of a growth engine. It's really bad. And so bringing customer success into the mix makes all of the things you're doing in sales and marketing work even better. Because now you're not having to fill in, where those customers left. Now you're adding on, right? But even more, bringing customer success in as part of sales and marketing. That's amazing, because now you're saying, look, we're gonna bring in customers that can be successful. We're gonna set them up from the very beginning, before they're even a customer, to be successful. We're gonna share content that helps them be successful. That's gonna make them come to us when they're ready, and we're gonna bring them in and we're gonna set them up for those many years that we hope that they'll be with us. So it's customer success, as I call it, is an operating philosophy. This is why you're in business. Sales and marketing are to get customers, but really customer success is why we even exist as a company. And I think you guys are just showing that, so much. Awesome. Not just at the summit, but every day with your customers, and that's amazing.
Amazing. And I was talking earlier today with Paulo, which is the new VP of Customer Success for Salesforce Brazil. And he told me that he shifted he worked with post-sales at the time, like 20 years ago, and he shifted to sales because he thought it was like more centerpiece of every business, because nobody wanted to work at post-sales.
Right.
And now he started working with customer success because he realized this is something different. And you tweeted something about it, that post-sales is like the 5 seconds after the customers close the deal. And so what has shifted, and what is so different to make a person that has shifted to sales like 20 years ago wanted to work with customer success now?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I saw somebody say something about post-sales, and it made me think that term is just so, it's not even outdated, it's just the wrong way to look at it. Maybe, it's the time immediately after the sale, but if a customer is going to be with us for 3, 5, 7, 10 years, that's not post-sales, that's their lifetime with us, right? And also, that whole post-sale kind of thing makes it seem like once we get the sale, we're good. That's not it at all. That's when, for the vendor, that's when the hard work really begins, and for the customer, that's when that's when you're going to start fulfilling your promises that you made. But so often we businesses sort of celebrate the sale, and then just turn the customer over. And I think why the things are shifting is that, again, people realize, especially in an on-demand or subscription type of world, we can't just let the customers, let them go and hope everything works out. I always say there's three things we want from our customers. We want them to stay longer, we want them to buy more, and we want them to advocate for us. And I think the true reality is you don't get those things by accident. You have to make sure those things happen. So moving into this getting out of post-sale versus sale and all that, getting into this idea of just making the customer successful, that shift is happening because people realize we're not going to get those three things if we just hope it happens. We have to make sure it happens. So the shift is, honestly, the shift is economic. And this is a business, we're trying to make money. If I can get my customer to stay longer, buy more, and advocate for us, that's only going to be good from a financial standpoint. And if it comes from making the customer successful, then not only is it going to be good financially, it's going to be sustainable, it's long term. It's not just looking at hitting our quarterly numbers and calling it good. So it's a big shift that's happening because people are thinking bigger picture, I think.
Great. So sales and post-sales, which is the 5 seconds after sale, is just the beginning. And customer success is something that you have to do something proactively in order to deliver success to your customers. They are not there by themselves to try to achieve success. And that's interesting because people have started talking about customer success probably 10 years ago. But here in Brazil, probably we started talking about customer success the year you came here. Which was 3 years ago.
3 years ago, yeah.
And you've been here a lot of times, and you've seen the market evolves.
Yeah.
The ideas evolve around this theme, this concept. And what have you seen that is particularly different from the US market, and you've seen here companies are doing better or worse than it?
Yeah, I mean, so it's been interesting because the evolution has been fast, and the uptake, the interest in customer success has been on a much faster timetable than we saw in the US. I mean, customer success in the US really has been around since the early 2000s, slowly started to pick up, and then finally got to a point where it is today, which is to say it's still not everywhere. I mean, from the outside looking in, you think it's everywhere, but it's not. It still has a long ways to go, especially outside of technology. But what I see in Brazil is, evolving customer success to fit the market, to fit the realities of what's going on here in Brazil. And I think that's what you should be doing anyway. That's what everybody should be doing. Even in the US, what works in Silicon Valley may not work outside of Silicon Valley, in Chicago or Austin or Boston or whatever. So when it comes to Brazil, there's things, a couple things that have always really stood out to me. One, and this is what I really love about the Brazilian culture, if we have to generalize, is kind of, relationships are important. Well, in business, those relationships are awesome, but they can actually cause scalability issues because people want to have long conversations, and so being able to take the concept of customer success, working with a customer to move them to be successful, but adapt it in a way that takes into consideration our cultural norms.
Sure.
Manage expectations properly, build loving fences around our customers so that they don't try to talk to us for 3 hours. Just little things like that, being able to understand the realities of what's going on in our business and adapt those best practices to what's going on here.
So the appropriate experience, maybe the same product, the same software for US customers is totally different from what a Brazilian customer would be expecting.
Exactly, and I mean that's exactly it. So, in the US, again, generalizations, but the relationships in a B2B scenario are a little bit colder, which allows for scalability, but there's other downsides. And here, it's a little bit of the opposite, but there's upsides and downsides to everything. And just being able to figure out what do we have to do. I think the main thing is, again, listening, watching, learning best practices, coming back and saying, okay, that's what works in the US, that worked for this particular company. What really is the appropriate experience for my customers? The other thing is, just because they're Brazilian customers doesn't mean they all have the same appropriate experience. A Brazilian customer that works for a large company and a Brazilian customer that's a small business, those are two different segments that would have, based on their characteristics, probably very different appropriate experiences. So we have to take that into consideration and figure out a way to work with both of those in the right way, even if they share the same required outcome. You know, they both need more leads, whatever. Well, okay, cool, but the way we're going to work with them is different. And if you try to normalize, kind of create the same experience for both of those customers, you could say, but they're all Brazilian, or they're all from this region, or they're all whatever. But that's not taking into consideration really what their true appropriate experience is. So that's important as well.
So you guys heard, one more reason to invest in customer success in Brazil. They want more relationship, more appropriate experience. But I've seen a lot of companies start doing customer success, following advice from some other guys, like you started your company, you just with one hat select someone to lead the customer success.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of founders and entrepreneurs not taking it seriously, so they take like a junior guy, an intern, to run customer success. I have one person in customer success. How bad it is?
By the way, that's everywhere. So when you look at the U.S. market and you say, gosh, a lot of companies are doing customer success, that's what they're doing. You take a junior person, and I see a lot of times this junior person sort of reports to the CEO, but they don't really report to the CEO. It's not they're not an SVP or something like that. They just don't have leadership, and so they're tasked with making the customer happy. Just go over there, make the customer happy, and now we can say we're doing customer success. And so whether that's happening in the US or Europe or Brazil, it doesn't matter. That's the wrong way to go. So I start with customer success as an operating philosophy, right? Our customers achieve their desired outcome through their interactions with our company. That's customer success. That is just what we're in business to do. And it starts there. So, I've seen where people have said, hire customer success people early. I love the sentiment around that, because it's trying to put the importance of customer success into really the foundation of the business. But again, if all you're going to do is hire a junior person to just figure it out, then you're going about it the wrong way. First, get clear on what success is for your customers, build it into the foundation of your business, the culture of your business, then figure out what the appropriate experience is for your customer, and figure out how to operationalize from there, and bring in somebody who's going to lead that effort. A good sanity check on whether or not you have things in line with that thinking is if you have a VP of sales and a VP of marketing and a VP of product, and you just have a junior person running customer success, you're doing it wrong. You need to have the same representation. If you really think it's as important as you say it is, and you're not just, talking the talk, bring in leadership and have a real strategy around it.
You said things about the core value of any business.
Yeah.
You need to know what your customers want and work to deliver that. So this is the interview with the Customer Success Pope here at RD Summit. If you want to know more, go to the lincolnmurphy.com website or 16venture.com, any other website.
Those will do.
Those have a lot of things you need to know. Thank you guys, thank you all.
Awesome.
Thank you for having you here.
Thanks, man.